Do you guys remember Splitgate, like the arena kind of Halo meets Portal multiplayer FPS that originally was an indie game, and then the developers got $100 million in funding and then closed down the servers for the first game? And then to market the game, they went on stage at Summer Games Fest with a Make FPS Games Great Again hat, while claiming they want FPS games to go back to the glory days of like old Call of Duties and Titanfall, which sounded really great on paper until you realize the game featured a $140 cosmetic bundle as well as a battle royale. And then when they received a shit ton of backlash, they decided to pull the game from a full launch back into a beta state and then rebranded, and then now they're launching again, and it's called Splitgate Arena Reloaded, and nobody gives a fuck still. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about those guys today. Just so everybody is caught up with what's going on, Splitgate just relaunched for like the third time now. Splitgate Arena Reloaded, it initially launched May 22nd, 2025. It was actually called Splitgate 2. I really enjoyed the original game. I thought for, a small little indie team, it was cool. It was a game about portals. And then when they released Splitgate 2, I thought the gameplay was fun, but there was a lot of controversy around that launch with the developer coming out on stage wearing like a Make FPS Games Great Again hat, pissed people off. He talked shit about other games, and he pissed off a lot of people. And when Splitgate 2 came out, the reception to it was not that great. They announced a battle royale mode. They had $140 cosmetics in the store. It was a fucking disaster. And then they decided to pull the game from a full release to back into beta. Hey, we're going to rework the game. We're going to make the game that you guys want us to make. They pulled out a bunch of the hero abilities and they made it about portals and guns, and they just recently re-released here. It relaunched December 17th, 2025. And if I can be honest, I haven't played it yet. This actually sounds pretty decent. But then you scroll down and you see, okay, we got split coin reimbursements, we got the premium currencies, it's a free-to-play game, whatever. They have the battle pass, who gives a shit, all this stuff, right? And truthfully, at the end of everything that has gone on with Splitgate 2, closing down the servers for Splitgate 1, we're left with, an all-time peak or 24-hour peak of 952. And every day it's been dipping just a little bit more, which for most people on the internet, they're going to call this game, dead or not alive or not thriving, not growing a player base. It's funny. We just dropped a video the other day talking about Battlefield 6 and how I made the point that if Battlefield continues down the road that it's on, it's not going to have a player base that is, for EA's brain, worth sustaining long term, right? This game, in terms of profit, in terms of profitability, this game, in my opinion, is a financial flop. And when it comes to multiplayer games like this, you have to think about the economics of whether or not there is enough players on board to financially secure the future of a title for players to want to dive into. Realistically, what players are doing when they go to Steam and they're looking at a game, they're going to look at how many players are playing, because so it's a free-to-play game, right? You can jump in, you can have a good time, you can play for a few hours, and that's great. And that's what the developers are basically saying in this post. We're going to get to this in just a minute. But what's going on is players are looking at this. Okay, they pulled it back into beta. They made a lot of mistakes. The game came out again, and it doesn't look like it's hitting the mark for a lot of people. 900 players in a multiplayer, I'm not going to call it a live service environment, but there's going to be post-launch content. There's going to be more battle passes, skins, content. I would call that a live service. And if you're making a multiplayer game in 2026, most likely people are expecting a live service content pipeline where you have new maps coming, where you have new guns, new cosmetics, I don't know, in this game, I don't know what you're going to have, maybe new game modes. But the problem is if there's not enough players that are playing the game right now and the game doesn't hit for a big enough demographic to be able to support the long-term development of a multiplayer title, eventually, and most likely, we've seen this plenty of times before, a game will die within 6 months And the developers are gonna, instead of making a post talking about Steam numbers, they're gonna make a post talking about fucking layoffs. We have seen it so many times. And at this point, most players are just sick and tired of looking at a game, understanding because of this information that it's not worth investing time into. For me, would look at Splitgate and go, well, I might play it for a few hours, but I'll be fucked if I'm going to invest in battle passes because the game's just going to shut down in a year's time or whatever. And that might not be the case here. They might have enough funding to support long term. Who fucking knows? Most players are just not going to jump into it. And that takes us to today, where yet again, Splitgate likes to put their foots in their mouths and they respond to recent Steam charts conversations. So let's read what they say. Steam charts don't measure fun. They show one number on one platform at one given moment. They don't show the full picture or what it feels like to actually play, and they definitely don't capture the community that's actively helping shape what Arena Reloaded is becoming, including upcoming content like Arena Royale. Over the past 6 months, we rebuilt Splitgate from the ground up because we believe in the game, our team, and our community. The 1047 team remains committed to delivering the best version of Splitgate possible. To our amazing community, thank you. Your feedback and passion have helped make Arena Reloaded better every day. And everyone who hasn't played it, Arena Reloaded is free. The gameplay is the best it's ever been, and we'd love for you to jump in and form your own opinion. And this is most likely in response to this article from Insider Gaming. Splitgate has fumbled again and failed to secure any traction following the rebrand. So they talk about the player numbers. 396 players at the time of writing this article. And this was on, this was on January 2nd. So Splitgate, in their infinite wisdom, decided to respond directly to this. And if I'm reading between the lines, it tells me that this is accurate. While some of the more recent reviews stressed positivity about the changes applied to the game, the underlying concept is one of too little, too late. Additionally, the game boasted a viewer count of just 134 users on Twitch. Put simply, nobody is interested in watching or playing Splitgate Arena Reloaded. And here's the thing, I'm noticing a shift in the conversation around player numbers and, player bases and healthy versus unhealthy. And I'm noticing a lot of people starting to go to bat for smaller games like this. And it's fine if you want to be positive about, well, hey, I mean, they have this many players, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to multiplayer and when it comes to a healthy player base, especially a game that is built on matchmaking, you hit a Q button and it tries to throw you in games. 800 players right now might be good. In a month's time, when people start to trickle off even more, because as we know, when a game launches, it peaks and then it starts to trickle off. As these numbers are showing you right now, these numbers are only going to go down. Most of the time this shit happens. It's the reason why I talked about Battlefield 6 the other day, and it's the reason why I'm talking about Splitgate now. As much as people want to downplay how important these player numbers are, when you're talking about a healthy player base, when you're talking about matchmaking queue times, when you're talking about games that have to sustain themselves long-term through financials, they need players in there buying the battle passes. They need players in there spending money on the cosmetics. For a free-to-play title to live and thrive, you need to have players. And if you don't have those players, the game struggles, and then we sit there and we wonder where content is, and then the game fucking dies. And then they come out, again, a year from now, not a post like this, but saying, hey, they had to lay off half of their fucking team, blah, 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 like we've seen a million fucking times before. And I think gamers are just hip to the game at this point. Nobody wants to dive into what they would consider a dead product or a product that is already showing signs of a slow death. And that's just the reality of the situation. It's kind of like a catch-22. Nobody wants to play a game because nobody's playing, and nobody's playing because nobody wants to play the game. This is why it is so incredibly difficult to break into the multiplayer space as a small dev team. And I think what most people don't understand is when I talk about this kind of stuff, I'm not even really talking about the game itself. Splitgate Arena Reloaded might be really fun. I had a lot of fun playing Splitgate 2 when it came out, but you could see the writing on the wall with the community reception to it. There were game modes there that I wasn't a fan of. There were game modes that I had a blast on. My guys playing it, we had fun at times, not fun at others. And I think for me, like, them listening to community feedback is a good thing. The game might be fucking incredible, but this is the conversation around multiplayer gaming nowadays, and it's just a reality that developers have to face if they want to launch on Steam. Splitgate Arena Reloaded might be the funnest FPS you could ever fucking play. I don't know. But developers doing this only turns people off. Steam charts don't measure fun. Here's the thing. I actually agree with it. Battlefield 6 losing 85% of their player base, you can point to a plethora of reasons for it. At the end of the day, things have to change in order to retain those player numbers, and that's just the reality of the situation. Things have to change here too. And honestly, if I'm looking outside perspective and I'm seeing the reception here, granted, you do have mostly positive reviews, recent, that's great. The numbers tell me that people aren't interested in Splitgate. I'm just going to be honest. And the thing is what confuses me about the whole situation, from them launching, reverting to beta, and then relaunching now, you guys had $100 million investment. And this is what I'm really like confused and questioning. How do we get here? One thing that I'm trying to also keep in mind, there's human beings on the other side of this conversation, right? These developers are sitting here and they're wondering why people are writing articles about them fumbling. There's gamers who dedicate their entire lives to looking at player numbers and they don't ever play the games. Here's the thing. You can take the player numbers and let's say Steam tomorrow hides them and you can't see the player numbers. At the end of the day, the player numbers indicate a trend and they indicate player interest. And most players are going to look at this and go, well, another game is asking for my attention. Do I want to invest time in something that clearly isn't actually hitting the mark for a lot of people? Is it worth my time? Or are they just going to play Arc Raiders, a game with a very healthy community? Or are they just going to play Battlefield? Even though Battlefield is quote unquote dying, they're losing 85% of their player numbers, which I think is a bad thing. And we can talk about it. Battlefield still has a healthy player base when you're comparing it to a game like this. And here's the thing, when I talk about these things, a lot of people are going to say, well, Big Fry, it's not fair to compare Battlefield to Splitgate. Totally get it. I totally agree. One is a massive machine with marketing budgets that are probably higher than 100 fucking million. It's all about competing for time. And even though these games are incomparable in terms of their quality, their scope, and whatever else, all of these games are competing for somebody's time, especially somebody who's coming home after a long day at fucking work. They want to spend 3, maybe 2 hours playing with their friends before they gotta, put the kids to bed or whatever. They're going to look at where their friends are playing. And if their friends aren't touching a game like Splitgate, they're not going to play it either. And that's just the reality of the situation when you make a multiplayer game like this. Complaining and whining about it in a post on Twitter to try to get some fucking sympathy isn't like that. This isn't going to do anything for you. All this is going to do is put people they're going to look at it and go, oh, people clearly aren't playing it and they're upset by it. And then they're just going to move on. It's just, dude, everybody sees it. This isn't good. I'm going to follow Splitgate and I'm going to see what happens to them in a year's time. I'm not going to say they're dead or they're going to shut down or whatever, but I think we're seeing the writing on the wall already. And I think the developers are shaken to the core about the fact that everybody is looking at the player numbers and understanding it's not a hit. Nobody really cares about Splitgate. That's something that I learned when I covered Splitgate too. It's a fun game for an hour or so with your friends once a week. It's one of those games where you might play it just a little bit here and there, a splash here and there, and that's okay. But the problem is from a developer's perspective, that doesn't keep the fucking lights on. And they know that, especially when you're staring down the barrel of $100 million runway for the development of this game, and you've already fucked up twice. It ain't looking good. Let me know what you guys think. Are you interested in Splitgate? Do you care? Does this surprise you? While you're down there, leave a like on the video and subscribe for everything FPS. I like talking about the industry. I like talking about the data. I like talking about analytics. And I find that some people get so offended when you bring up the fact that a game is struggling to maintain a player base in a game that literally lives and dies by the size of said player base. It's so fucking interesting to me. And what may be interesting to you is I launched my game about a month ago now. It is a single-player tactical stealth action FPS inspired by the games I played growing up. And because it's single-player, we don't have to have a conversation about player numbers. You can literally buy the game at any moment and play the game and have a good time. We're currently sitting at around 75% positive reviews, which is fucking awesome. So if you guys want to check out my game Transients, it's available on Steam. The link is down in the description below. And if you're looking for even more Big Fry content, you can subscribe to my second channel, eloquently called More Big Fry. You can also subscribe to my TCG and tabletop channel called Untapped. And if you guys want to support the content machine, go over to patreon.com/BigFry. As always, my name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.